What if vlog, but circuit building? Working on some stuff for a video that's due to release at the end of the month here. Might as well multitask. Picking up where I left off from the first What If vlog, but garage cleaning video. There's a few changes going on with life. I'm coming to terms with a career-ending injury. Was in refrigeration, hoping to get into energy management systems, industrial controls, possibly inverter systems. I found myself on the receiving end of a chronic lower back injury. Had a pinched nerve in a way that I may never fully recover, at least not without some surgery or other fairly intrusive, similarly derailing changes. I'm gonna have to change directions a little bit to something that isn't quite so consistently physically demanding on my body. The good news is, I am not in chronic pain right now if I'm avoiding lots of heavy lifting, and for reference, my tool bag alone would exceed what OSHA recommends a single person lift. And I am much smaller than the average guy, which means that I'd have to be putting in even more strain for a given amount of output. That all caught up with me in a hurry. First it was a couple days off, then had to take basically a couple weeks off, and soon after realized that I wasn't getting better, and if I did, I would re-injure myself quite rapidly after returning to work. It just wasn't an option anymore. I've already gone through the stages of grief from that, but there's an upside to that. I finally had a chance to, take care of myself, do hobby stuff for the first time in a while. Could notice in my video history there where I tried to revive my channel and then just hit a brick wall and burnt out. And getting COVID bad twice in rapid succession did no favors to my ability to have enough energy to do everything, and it took basically throwing my back to pieces in order to force me to take a step back. And it turns out I was a little bit less satisfied with where I was and where I was going than I thought at the time. That means I'm creating more content. Things are a little bit slow rolling out, mostly because I'm trying to avoid the giant mistake I made last time. Kind of trying to do a one-man show at the rate that other channels might do with a production team, or at least maybe a couple people working on it. At least at first, I gotta take it slow and build up a little bit in the pipeline before I can even think about ramping up how fast I put out the content. On that note, I was able to take some time to myself and join Shoyun when she went to a convention, and at the last possible minute, I figured, what if I tag along, and what if I bring my video camera? And it turns out that was a really good idea. The group she was performing with wanted some video taken of the event, plus some behind the scenes. And while I was there, 2 other people approached to ask that I film their performances as well. I tried. My system, my kit, video equipment was not really set up for live events, so it was understandably a little bit scuffed. It came out halfway decent, I think. I semi-accidentally networked myself into being a staff videographer for the older cousin of the event that we had initially gone to. Essentially ended up filming the entire main stage set at that convention over the course of 3 days. Exhausting? I wouldn't want to do that again at that kind of pace, but that worked out pretty well, as I, in hindsight, had a lot of fun, despite being tired at the end. So far, it seems people are enjoying the footage I took, even though, despite upgrades, my entire kit, the suitcase it came in, and the plane ticket to get me there, and my share of the hotel room, might cost less than what another pro videographer would spend on one camera and one lens body. One camera body and one lens. I swear I know how to talk. While I was there, started to realize that that's something that's needed in the Kaigai idol, the overseas idol community. Because a lot of people seem to lament that they didn't have very much or very good live footage of any of their performances. Despite me being at a small convention, that was more coverage than some large conventions are likely to have. Mostly because it takes a lot more effort to film versus taking stills at one of those events, especially long term. All told, I ended up with over a terabyte of footage. Usually people who are knowledgeable and prepared for something of that scale are going to charge a lot, as in many, many thousands of dollars. In a lot of cases, the performers and the conventions aren't yet at a scale where they'll have the budget for something like that, and therefore they're left high and dry when it comes to wanting live footage. Maybe that could be a niche I could start exploring a little. Not sure yet if there is any significant money that could be made, but that's hard to judge until kind of out in the middle of it. What I did manage to do was give a decent kickstart into doing some of this again. Being creative, making videos, get my lazy butt in gear, and actually learn how to do some of this video production stuff. Was trained at a different era of YouTube, where just having a somewhat decent camera and turning the lights on and cutting a few of the ums and ahs out of the script would go a long way. And now things need to be a little bit more fancy. Being smart about a production pipeline, schedule my projects. I have 3 projects at various stages as I speak, and hoping for, this one's better be done because the video is at the end of the month. 1, maybe 2 more to be essentially complete by the time the month is over. And that'll give me some breathing room in the case of, getting sick again, or whatever happens. I won't have to completely pause video output for a couple months because I fell behind once. Already happened a few too many times, and I don't want it to happen again. I feel a lot less stressed about it. Shortly before the burnout, I was getting significantly stressed out about how other people seem to do it so casually. Why couldn't I magically keep up? Yeah, it turns out that I just had too much on my plate. Where was I? Yes, I am reading from a set of bullet notes because I don't have enough brain cells to do this and remember everything I want to say and speak even somewhat coherently. On the software side, I'm using proper Sony Vegas now instead of an older version of Sony Movie Studio. So got a few tools, a little bit better, more powerful editing capabilities there. And for the first time, learning how to use those capabilities instead of stumbling around in the dark quite so much as I was doing before. As a consequence, I had to do some computer upgrades. Did intend to do a vlog while doing that, but that at first seemed too simple and then turned into a can of worms, and I had a little bit of a schedule to meet, so I ended up not doing a video on that. In hindsight, it probably would have been a good idea. Get some content, you get some entertainment out of me stumbling around, getting made a fool out of unreliable memory timings, and a motherboard that insisted that it was in fact a problem with the new graphics card and not the memory. It's got debug LEDs for memory, CPU, boot drive, graphics card, etc., etc. Memory passed, but never got any picture. And the VGA, the graphics card warning light, lit up, and that's where it would hang. And only figured that out once I started going through, put the old graphics card back in, exact same symptoms when it was working before just fine. Eventually I had to clear the CMOS, reset everybody, and make sure the memory settings were correct, and they were just a little bit too spicy. Groot is still running a, by now, comparatively ancient 6th gen Intel, so a Z170 chipset with a i7 6700K. In tech terms, a dinosaur. Always intended to upgrade, but never got around to it. Just bad timing, budget wrong for the performance boost. Then the whole crypto shenanigans happened, and the $500 graphics card were $1,200 graphics cards, and that was not worth it at all. So among all of that, I figured it just wasn't worth it at the time. Waited, bided my time, didn't game enough. The old movie studio would not take advantage of the graphics card very well. Then finally, after the event, trying to process some of that footage, realizing, holy crap, I am out of memory. The graphics card is stumbling over itself. I'm out of VRAM, and certain tasks are going to take days to process. Kind of re-encode some files to make them a little bit more efficient for sending to people, and I got an ETA of about 18 hours. And I was gonna have to do that probably half a dozen times or more, and people were gonna want their footage. Finally had to bite the bullet. I'm now rocking 64 gigs of RAM, running, not blistering fast, but I'll take a 25% speed boost over what I had before. Rather more RAM than record-breaking fast RAM when I'm dealing with giant file sizes. Now that it's got breathing room, Vegas will happily chew on 32 gigs or more by itself. So no wonder it was stumbling before. Now that the program can take advantage of a better graphics card, a 4060 Ti is doing wonders. Huge improvement. Having 8 gigs instead of 2 gigs of video RAM mean that it's not choking just running the desktop anymore. Handled the hardware side of upgrades and streamlining my production pipeline, working on handling the editing workflow side of the pipeline. What I can't handle are things outside of my control, such as the power going out. Unfortunately, this place is prone to power outages with no warning. Clear, calm, cool day, no windstorm, no thunderstorm, no whatever. Nothing scheduled, but the whole neighborhood and the neighborhood over and the neighborhood beyond that, everybody goes dark. Looks like the whole medium voltage line, all 3 phases go out at once. Not sure what keeps going out, but once a month, sometimes a bit more, the power's just gonna die for an hour or two. And just my luck, at least twice, that's happened while I had to be doing some video things. Whether that was rendering something where I wanted to get it done and rolled out in time, or while I was still troubleshooting the upgrades on the computer, which just about gave me a heart attack because when I'd finally figured everything out, it had passed the stress tests, at least initially, and everything looked good. Suddenly, pop! Black screens and the sound of fans winding down. It was still daylight at the time, so I didn't have anything else that would immediately indicate the power had gone out. So I had a few seconds of growing panic that somehow I'd messed up, or gotten dud parts, or what have you, and I'd have to start the process all over again, this time hunting an intermittent fault. Still a pain in the butt, and essentially had to put off the remainder of the troubleshooting until essentially the next day. Came back on later, but I already had moved on to other things, and just, I needed a break. Maybe it was a good thing, because I'd been at it for a few hours at that point fighting the memory and graphics card warning lights. This comes in as part of a solution to make it so that power going out is not, oh crap, I lost all my work, not, oh crap, I have to shut down in 2 minutes or I will lose all my work, but instead, oh darn it Edison, there's not even a windstorm today. Guess I better finish this render and then shut down at my convenience. That's what I'm going for, and that's what hopefully y'all are going to be seeing in a couple weeks. 3 weeks? 2.5 weeks? What is time? If you follow my socials, wink wink nudge nudge, you might get a few more sneak peeks as this goes on. Finally finding my stride, or at least got the illusion I'm finding my stride. Thanks for stopping by. Hope to see you soon.